Hi, it's Mia, and tonight's story will make you question every late-night text you've ever ignored, because what if the silence hides something irreversible? Welcome back to the channel, where we dive into the raw edges of trust and betrayal. Let's get into it. James had always prided himself on the quiet strength of his marriage to Sarah, a bond forged in the fires of past heartbreaks. At 45, living in their cozy home in Colorado with their 22-month-old son, Ethan, he believed they had built something unbreakable. Both had been cheated on in previous relationships, so they made a pact early on: constant communication during any time apart, no secrets, no room for doubt. But that foundation started showing cracks when Sarah announced her first overnight work trip since Ethan's birth, a Christmas event in a nearby city with her team at the construction firm. Her boss, Michael, a married man in his 50s whom James had met at company barbecues and even shared a beer with, was leading the group. James trusted Michael. He seemed like a solid family guy, always talking about his own kids and weekend fishing trips. Sarah promised to check in regularly, and James kissed her goodbye, watching her drive off with a mix of pride in her career and a faint unease he couldn't quite place. The evening unfolded normally at first. Sarah texted around 6 p.m., saying they were heading to bowling with the coworkers, followed by dinner. James smiled at the photo she sent of the group laughing over appetizers, Michael in the background raising a glass. But as the hours ticked by, her responses grew sparse. By 9 p.m., she sent a quick goodnight message, claiming she was exhausted and heading to bed early in her hotel room around 10. James tried to shake off the odd feeling, busying himself with putting Ethan to sleep and catching up on work. Yet something nagged at him, so he glanced at the shared location on her phone app, a habit they both agreed on for peace of mind. To his surprise, her dog kept moving around the hotel property well past midnight, lingering in areas that didn't make sense for someone asleep in their room. He told himself it could be a glitch or maybe she was grabbing a late snack from the lobby vending machine, but the uncertainty planted a seed that grew with every refresh of the screen. When Sarah returned home the next afternoon, she seemed her usual self, hugging Ethan tightly and recounting the fun of the night with animated stories about strikes at the bowling alley and holiday toasts at the bar. James forced a smile, but his mind raced. That evening, as they reconnected intimately after weeks of her being tied up with work prep, a faint, unfamiliar scent caught his attention mid-embrace, the unmistakable rubbery trace of a condom, something they had never incorporated into their relationship since deciding early on that they were done with barriers after Ethan's birth. His stomach twisted, but he said nothing in the moment, not wanting to shatter the fragile normalcy. Later, when she stepped into the shower, he couldn't resist the pull anymore. He picked up her phone, heart pounding, and scrolled through her messages. The thread with Michael was completely empty, wiped clean as if it had never existed. No casual check-ins, no follow-ups from the event, nothing. Confronting Sarah that night after Ethan was asleep, James kept his voice steady, asking about the deleted messages first. She hesitated, her eyes flickering with something he couldn't read, then explained that there had been some light flirting at the bar, nothing serious, but Michael had sent an apologetic text afterward, saying he felt bad for getting too friendly. They both agreed to delete the exchange to avoid any awkwardness spilling over into work or home. James pressed for details, his mind flashing to imagined scenes of laughter turning intimate, hands brushing too long, whispers in the dim bar light, images he desperately wished he could erase from his thoughts. He called Michael the next day, posing it casually as a follow-up on the event, but Michael's story matched Sarah's word for word: harmless fun, a quick apology, messages erased to keep things professional. Yet the synchronicity felt too rehearsed, like a script they'd practiced. James began questioning everything. Had this flirtation simmered before the trip? Sarah's late nights at the office over the past month suddenly seemed suspicious, and he found himself comparing his own steady, reliable life as a project manager to Michael's charismatic success as the company's CEO, wondering if that allure had drawn her in where he fell short. The days blurred into a haze of arguments and uneasy silences. James hid the turmoil from his sister, who lived nearby and often babysat Ethan, not wanting her judgmental gaze or the pity that would follow if the truth spread. He contemplated revenge in quiet moments, maybe anonymously tipping off Michael's wife about the trip, or even confronting him in person, but each idea dissolved into hesitation, knowing it could backfire and complicate custody or their shared finances. Sleepless nights amplified his doubts. He pictured the hotel room in vivid, unwanted detail, Sarah's laughter echoing with Michael's, bodies entangled in ways that made his chest ache. Under relentless pressure, Sarah finally broke down one evening in their living room, tears streaming as she admitted the full truth. After the bar, she'd gone back to Michael's room for what started as a nightcap but escalated into a one-night affair. It was a mistake fueled by alcohol and the thrill of being away, she insisted, swearing it was the first and only time. Now, weeks later, they still shared the house James had bought before they married, a place filled with Ethan's toys and family photos that mocked the fracture beneath. Sarah had transformed into the picture of remorse, cooking his favorite meals, initiating affection, and pleading for forgiveness, promising counseling and total transparency. But trust had evaporated like morning mist, leaving James in a limbo of indecision. Divorce loomed as a practical option, protecting his assets and giving him primary custody, yet it meant uprooting Ethan's world. Exposing the affair to Michael's wife tempted him as a form of justice, but he worried it would drag everyone into a messy fallout. Revenge simmered in darker thoughts, sabotaging her job or spreading whispers among mutual friends, but he held back, fearing it would poison him more than her. Instead, he navigated the days with calculated detachment, weighing each choice like a chess move, wondering if staying meant weakness or strategy, all while the weight of unspoken truths pressed heavier with every shared meal. Sometimes the deepest wounds aren't from the act itself, but from the choices it forces upon you. Revenge might feel like power, but it often chains you tighter than forgiveness ever could. If this story hit close to home or sparked some thoughts, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below. Should James walk away? Or is there a smarter play here? Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Sweet dreams.